Imagine your sister kills you because you did not say thank you to her for making dinner. Fergus Glenn was an unemployed man who lived with his parents. In March 2003, his 33-year-old brother Craig came to stay at the house with Fergus and his parents. Apparently, Craig was a married man with 3 children, but had recently separated from his wife. The brothers had been constantly fighting for the past couple of months prior to the murder. There had been occasions where they have had physical fights, but according to the reports, the evening before the murder was quite a happy one, with Fergus cooking dinner for his family. The only tiny mistake that Craig made was not to thank Fergus for the dinner that he prepared. Fergus later confessed to the police that he stayed up after everyone had retired for the night and drank whiskey. Then dark thoughts enveloped his mind, so he picked up the axe and brought it down 8 times on his sleeping brother. "He just annoyed me and I did it. I'm not proud, but I did it," Fergus reported to the authorities. Fergus was sentenced to life imprisonment. Imagine you are playing a video game peacefully, and then suddenly, a kid comes and disturbs you. What would you have done to him if his parents were not nearby? Alexander Tobias was a 22-year-old mom with 3-month-old baby son. One fine day in January 2010, she was playing the farming simulation Facebook game Farmville when her baby, Dylan Lee Edmondson, began to cry. She got so angry at the baby for disturbing her in the middle of the game that she shook him violently. She then stopped to smoke a cigarette to compose herself and then continued shaking the baby. When the baby stopped breathing, she called 911 frantically, saying that he's only 14 weeks old. He's not breathing. When the investigators arrived, she told them that a dog knocked her kid off a couch. He then hit his head and stopped breathing. But later she admitted to violently shaking the baby that led to his death. I think everyone must have farted in a school classroom at some point in time. Some might have even pooped their pants. The real fear is if someone notices and announces it to the whole class. It's embarrassing, isn't it? In 2012, a 16-year-old teen from Ohio was killed by her fellow classmate who became furious over getting teased by the victim. Witnesses say that Shakira Dorsey, the victim, was heard making fun of her classmate in front of a group of girls for farting. Infuriated at being teased, the classmate started beating Shakira. She was so brutally beaten that Shakira collapsed unconscious after the fight was broken up by her stepdad. Authorities arrived on the scene after receiving 2 separate 911 calls. An ambulance team was treating Shakira when the police arrived, but she breathed her last soon after that. Her classmate has been charged with murder, but her name has not been released by the authorities. Imagine you are enjoying your Sunday night with your family and friends when suddenly you realize that tomorrow is Monday. How would you feel? 16-year-old Brenda lived in the house just opposite to the school. Her parents were separated, and she lived with her father in poverty. On the morning of January 29, 1979, Brenda just started shooting from her home at the children who were waiting outside the school. When the school principal heard the shots, he came outside to help the children and was eventually shot in the effort. A police officer who responded to the call was also injured. Apart from this, 8 of the children were injured. After the shooting, Brenda barricaded herself in her home. When a reporter from the San Diego Union Tribune contacted her over the phone and asked her to state the reason for her malicious actions, Brenda said, "I don't like Mondays." Brenda was tried as an adult and pleaded guilty to the 2 murders and for assault with a deadly weapon. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. We all admit that we have fought with our friends for that last piece of food, but he is on a different level. David L. Scott, a 49-year-old man, was convicted of the murder of Roger Wilkes, a 42-year-old. Multiple witnesses reported that the 2 men were apparently fighting over a bag of Cheetos that Roger Wilkes had. When Wilkes refused to hand over the bag of chips, David took out a knife and stabbed him in the chest. The Bike Patrol police were notified by witnesses and were given the description of David. The police arrested him a few blocks away from the crime scene. They also recovered the murder weapon, the knife, which was in David's possession when he was arrested. Wilkes was immediately taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. David was charged with second-degree murder.